in, get the edge you need to succeed. I'm Dr. Erin McKinley, and over the next couple of weeks, the episodes that we have on the podcast are a series of sit-downs that I did with some May 2021 dietetics grads from my program here at Louisiana State University. This was a really big request that I was getting from mentees of mine at other universities and students that were tuning into the podcast, is that they really wanted to hear firsthand from students who were able to successfully navigate the dietetic internship application process and successfully make it through a challenging dietetics program. What they really went through, the highs and lows, and their honest feedback and feelings about how they did and what they wish they maybe did better. So I've met with several of our students who've all successfully matched to dietetic internships, all different types of programs, all different types of experiences in that. And I hope you enjoy these next couple of episodes. And as always, if you have ideas for future episodes, please shoot me an email at erin.m.mckinley@gmail.com. And I will do my best this summer to accommodate those requests and have more amazing, great interviews with guests for things that you want to see on the podcast. So here we go with this first episode in this series with Shelby and Callia. Enjoy. All right, welcome Callia and Shelby. To get us started, I would love an introduction to you, your hometown, a little bit about your why as far as dietetics goes, and then where you are headed after you leave us at LSU.
Okay, well, my name is Callia Cox. I claim Charleston, South Carolina as my hometown, although I have lots of family in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana. So I knew since fifth grade I wanted to be a dietitian, and that definitely, it sounds like, okay, that's very like, you knew what you wanted and everything, but I kept it very open-minded. I'm still very open-minded about like where I want to go in dietetics. So kind of proud of that about myself, because I could have been just very strict, same career path since fifth grade, but it's definitely changed, but it's always dietetics. And that's just been my like superhero career goal.
Where are you headed after
graduation? I'm headed to UNC Chapel Hill for their Master's in Public Health and Dietetic Internship. It's a future model education program. So I'm excited for that. And then I chose LSU because they had a dietetic program. I was actually interested in Xavier University all my life, actually, but then realized like really the senior year, after senior year of high school, within that summer, I was like, wait, I can't really go there if they don't have the program I wanted. And that's just being like, you know, a new college student. No one really told me what to look out for or anything, but it all worked out, and I really enjoyed LSU the last 4 years.
All right, Shelby.
Okay, so I'm Shelby LeBlanc, and I'm from Central Louisiana, which is like 30 minutes outside of Baton Rouge. So I usually just say I'm from Baton Rouge. And I actually didn't know I wanted to be a dietitian or go into nutrition and dietetics until I got to college. I just kind of was confused on what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to kind of be in a more sciencey medical type field, but I didn't want to, you know, be a nurse or anything. So I started taking nutrition classes and then fell in love with it. And ever since, I've just been really interested in clinical nutrition and, you know, potentially working in a hospital in the future. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I'm going to go to Fran U, which is here in Baton Rouge. They have a combined Master's of Nutritional Science and Dietetic Internship program. So I'm super excited to start that in August.
All right, perfect. Well, both of you took a prep course we have here at LSU to get you on the path to putting together your application materials for this process. And one of the things I forced you to do was really to start thinking about these big life decisions that you have to make, since choosing an internship is a big life decision because that kind of sets the trajectory of what kind of dietitian you may become. So when that time came, whenever it was junior year or in the fall, whenever you took the class, what were your thoughts at that time as far as making the decision on where you were going to apply, what was going to happen next? Like where were your heads at that time?
I was really thankful for the class. I think it's really necessary. All universities need it. And I think having it, I think me and Shelby both had it our senior year, I believe, maybe. Okay. But I think I really enjoyed taking it my fall of senior year, because like I'm actually doing the work as I actually need to do the work, instead of like learning it and then kind of putting it off to the side or whatever. But I mean, I was definitely afraid of diet kits. I remember I found out about diet kits. I know this is another question too, but I found out about diet kits maybe like my freshman year of college, just from like a YouTube video from like a registered dietitian. And I was like, okay, it's a matching program and this is like super scary. And I would try to explain it to my parents and they never understood it. So I just felt super lost. So having the class was super just necessary, and it really made me more comfortable with the process and like just taking it step by step. And definitely helped me decide more what I want to do, what I'm looking for, and things like that. So like having that 90 minutes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to discuss that was way easier than trying to think about it, late at night or something. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the class. I took it as a junior, I think like second semester of junior year. So I kind of like did the work and then had to like stew on it and wait until senior year came. But actually sitting down and learning about diecast was really helpful because I didn't know anything about it until taking that class. And I didn't know like that it was a matching program and that I would probably need to get my master's. Like I didn't know these things. So sitting in class and actually having to learn all of that and then prepare like personal statements and resumes, that made me feel so much more prepared for applications, and it made it seem a little less scary just because we learned exactly how to do it. And talking to like some friends that were applying to other, grad school programs that didn't have a class like we did, they were all jealous. And I was like, yep, like every single major needs that class. So it was extremely helpful, and it made everything seem less scary than it actually is.
All right. So Kelly, you touched on this a little bit, but how did you explain this to your family?
It was really funny because, like, I guess the night before match, I'm like, oh, yeah, we get match tomorrow. And my parents like, oh, well, explain how it works. I'm like, it's a little late for that. Like, I tried to explain this to you, like, almost pretty much 2 years ago about, like, how nervous I was about it and how confusing it was. And, like, my dad actually always thought, like, oh, I can get you an internship. We'll find someone you can intern with. I'm like, it's not like that. It's like medical school matching. So they were really excited about it like the night before, and I was just like, it is what it is at this point. But it is a very confusing concept. Not even like wanted them to watch like a YouTube video on it or something. Like I actually did not really understand until like as we're going through the process. And there was definitely times like between December, January, and February after our class was done with you, we were still like, I know in like group messages, we were like, wait, how does this work again? Like we're kind of confused. It's very confusing. I'm gonna say it's definitely, I think it's more confusing than like SOFIS. I use SOFIS for the public health applications, and doing that SOFIS application first, I think helped me a lot because their platform was just easier to use. It was pretty much the same information for both of them, but Dicus just seemed very outdated and sad looking. I just did not like using it, but it was easy to use it and just plug the information in right after doing SOFIS.
So the way I explained it to like my parents and friends is I actually showed them the YouTube video that Dr. McKinley showed us in 3025 of how all the matching works. And it was like an example of, these people applied in these programs and this is where they're going or not going. So I kind of used that and was like, this is how this all works, because I didn't know how to actually explain that it was a matching program, because everyone kept asking me like, well, if you don't get into one school, you're just going to get into the other one. And then, or you can get into both and decide which one you want to go to. And I was like, no, you match to one. No one understood that concept. So I definitely like just use that video to explain it to them. And I was, so nervous for match day, and everyone was so like, why are you nervous? Like, you're going to just get acceptance letters from both and pick which one, like you're going to undergrad type thing. So I had to tell people like, no, it's one or, second round. Yeah. And then diecast, like how Callia said, it was kind of outdated. I guess like the way it looked like a little outdated and stuff. I didn't think it was horribly bad to use because I didn't have anything else to compare it to. But yeah.
So what did your family say when you're like, hey guys, I have to go to school for another year and a half, 2 years, then I can become a dietitian?
They kind of knew it from like freshman year, because I knew we had to do an internship, and I knew I wanted to always like have a master's degree. So I was like, it's going to take more time. I think looking at, I know when my parents were looking at the cost of like the just DI programs versus like the masters in public health or masters of science combined ones, they were definitely like, okay, this is super expensive. I mean, I guess thinking without getting like a degree with it, it was just like really expensive. I know when I was looking at those particular programs. Um, but I honestly have to say, and this is just like a fault of mine, financially, I have not looked at the information I need to look at. I'm kind of just like, give me the education, I'll deal with everything later. Which I think that is a big amount of students. It's probably not the best thing to do, but that's definitely kind of where I am right now. I'm just kind of worried about getting the degrees over with and making sure I have what I need so I can just be an RD. That's kind of just my goal. But looking at it now, after like, okay, we've completed our undergrad degree, I really am dreading like, wow, I have to do a whole internship just to get like the letters behind my names. I just want the letters.
Yeah, my family, like they thought it was really cool that I was going to go and get my master's degree and go to an internship. Like they were really supportive of it. But then also some people were like, you're just going to be a dietitian. Why do you have to go to all this school? And I was like, well, actually, I do have to go to all this school. It's not just, you get a bachelor's and can go take care of people. So that was kind of fun to like prove people I'm not wrong, but educate them a little bit more on like how much dietitians do. Um, and then money wise, definitely when I was looking at programs, I found my number one program and was just kind of like, that's it. That's where I want to go. And then I looked at it and was like, oh, let's figure out tuition now. So I guess looking at tuition is really important beforehand, but at the same time, it's kind of worth it in the end because, it's your education. So I'm kind of okay with it. But yeah.
So outside of family and maybe LSU faculty and fellow students, did y'all have anybody else kind of in your support team throughout this whole process?
Also, my friends were actually interested in the process. I think it's more because I have like, a lot of friends who are looking to at law school, so we're kind of applying at the same time, but they didn't have like the support of a class and whatnot. But also, like I have lots of different mentors I'm really thankful for, like in the Baton Rouge community, who were really helpful to me, who've actually done DICUS themselves, or they definitely knew about it. They knew the process, and having that support was it really made a very big difference. I also just wish I would have gone to a lot of people earlier in the process. I kind of always waited to like the last minute because I'm just like, I guess kind of nervous about asking people for help or their advice and stuff like that. But there's definitely like a lot of support, and since all dietitians have to go through the process, they all know what to expect. It's not like you have dietitians out there who didn't do DICUS or didn't do a dietetic internship. So I had a lot of support from like the Baton Rouge community for sure.
I had a lot of support with my friends, like while applying. Like one of my friends was applying to PA school, so she just did a very similar application. So we kind of like helped each other in a way and would talk about our applications. And like I made everyone read through my application on diecast and make sure it like made sense of what I was trying to say. So that was really helpful. And then also I shadowed a dietitian at the Baton Rouge General. So and she's younger, so she was like talking to me about how she did diecast and match day and what internship she went to. So it was kind of nice just to be able to talk to her and listen to her experiences. But we didn't really talk much like through the application process. Mainly when I was filling out diecast, I just like talked to my friends and my boyfriend and was like, okay, everyone, read this, make sure it's good. So that's kind of what I did.
I had 11 copies of my personal statement for one school, 11, and people got tired of reading my stuff. But I wanted it to be perfect.
So what are some things that you wish you knew earlier in the dietetics program that maybe would have made this process or this decision or decisions about what you were going to do next a little bit easier?
I wish I would have known. I got to LSU wanting to be a pediatric dietitian, and that was kind of like my fifth grade goal as well. But I wish I would have known earlier, like the real different areas that like dietitians can work in. It's not just hospitals, not just community, it's not just food service or sports. Like you really can go anywhere. And I've seen that a lot my senior year. And like the things that, dietitians do should be applied in even more places than they actually are right now. So really learning, I wish I would have had like an earlier experience with like seeing dietitians doing non-traditional work. I remember Dr. Holston actually mentioned in our public health class that she was working as a dietitian. She's an RD, and she's working to get sidewalks in like a rural area. I'm like, that's not nutrition related, but like I kind of like that you're a dietitian, but you're doing stuff that's non-related to like traditional dietetics. So I kind of wish I would have known earlier that it's not just food, health, and I don't know, calories. I wish I would have known that earlier.
Mine's kind of the same thing because I always thought nutrition was just like, oh, gonna go in and tell people how to eat, I guess. But I want to focus more in clinical right now anyway. But now I understand how much a dietitian can do in a clinical setting. Like, I never realized how many different types of patients they can work with. I just thought they would meet with people that want to, maintain their weight or be a little more healthy in their lifestyle and everything. And that we would just tell them, like, oh, do this, this, and this. But I wish I would have known how involved it can be in a clinical setting and how important we are, and also like how many different areas of healthcare we work with. Like, I didn't realize that we would work with a speech language pathologist or, a PT and an OT. Like, I didn't realize all that. And that sounds really exciting to me.
We touched on this a little bit with Diecast, and just to let the viewers know, starting in spring of 22, Diecast is actually getting a nice facelift. What that looks like, we don't know yet, but it will require me to learn a whole new system, I'm sure. So I'm sure it's getting an update. Y'all said it was outdated, which I agree with you on that. So what other really honest things do you have to say about the Diecast process or the other applications that you had to fill out for graduate school or the other programs you applied to? Just some honest opinions.
I think it's not, because we say DICAS and then we say like, okay, then you might have like your master's program application, but there's also usually an application for the actual school. And I actually had to do that for both of the schools I applied to for DICAS. And I did them so last minute because I was just focused on DICAS, and I literally forgot about one program's paperwork. And they called me to like, oh, please submit this if you still want to like be considered. And it was like, wow, it was just a sheet of paper and send like a fee or something. But I really think people need to make sure they remember to check off all the boxes of the application, not just the DICAS application, because your DICAS won't count if the university or the program doesn't have the other supplementary application. And I think it might have been just to do like, an extra couple of paragraphs or a page of writing or something is tedious when you've already done the entire DICAS process. So honestly, I think it would be easier if people did that application first before they actually put their DICAS information in, because you can probably tell a little more about what the school wants if you do their part first instead of just a general application. Because I can definitely say I forgot to submit one of them, and I submitted like a week or two late and they took it. But it was just like, wow, that was crazy. I forgot to submit something. They were really nice about it, but I was just like, I wish I would have remembered like to do those. I literally just saw it on the website and never went back to it.
Yeah, diecast itself was very tedious, especially the part for experience. I put that off until like the last possible minute before I submitted because I did not want to fill out like all my work experience and all my volunteer experience and write all those little boxes in, because by the end of it, there was just so many in every section and it was just extremely tedious and it took so much time to do. So I didn't really enjoy that, but that's just part of it. And then also like with other programs, you had to go on their website and say like, oh, they want you to email them this and mail them this and make sure you do this, but also submit your diecast. So keeping on track of everything was really important. Like I just had a notebook of like to-do lists for like each school. And then also I had trouble with my transcript, like mailing my transcript from LSU. That was just with the transcript office though. That wasn't on diecast, but I just had like some issues with them. So that was not fun to deal with, but I ended up like talking to the transcript office and we worked it out, so it was okay. But for a while that was very nerve-wracking for me just because I didn't know if they were actually going to mail it, because they were also talking about like sending it online and everything. So that was an issue with like the transcript office and diecast. But other than that, I guess it was okay.
Yeah, I definitely had different issues. And I think I just got super used to the different issues because for even Sophis, I had submitted stuff wrong on there too. And I had to end up like calling the Sophis office and wherever they're from. And like, I just got really familiar with like a lot of different companies and just calling them, making sure everything's right, emailing them on top of submitting regular things. I feel like you have to get super comfortable with like making sure everything is done, sealed, just perfect. And don't be afraid to like, call their help desk, call their 800 number, email them, all of that. Because I had to do all of that just to make sure everything was submitted correctly. And that definitely has to go with, being last minute on a lot of things. But when you call, it makes me more comfortable about like making sure everything is perfect and correct. I didn't have to call Dicus, but I called Sophis for sure. And then my other thing, I think it's a helpful tip, if you're applying for like a grad program and that might be due first, and then Dicus isn't due till February, keep like all the application questions in like a document, like copy pasted and everything, because they're all asking for the same thing: the experience, the like even your reference people, what's something else they ask for, like your academic stuff, just the different questions they ask. It's all the same. So I always have like running documents of like everything a program will ask me, a Dicus, or even scholarships. It's all the same stuff. So I always, like, honestly, for Dicus, I was just copy and pasted everything in one night, like in January. And so my Dicus was pretty much done. I just have to edit things here and there. So that's how I've been applying for graduate programs, Dicus, and scholarships. It's all the same thing.
That's really good advice. I didn't even think of that. I'm impressed right now. And I think one weird thing that happened this year at our institution, and I don't know if it was COVID related or budget related, but for the longest time, I feel like Dicus was telling us that we couldn't send electronic transcripts. So I think I was under that assumption. And then at first, LSU was mailing transcripts like normal. And then one day they just stopped. And then so the next person in the door was told no, and then I'm getting a phone call like LSU won't mail it, and then I'm freaking out only to find out that, oh no, we can electronically send them. So I think there was like a weird just kind of miscommunication that I don't know if I missed an email a long time ago because we got so many in 2020 because of COVID changes, but I just thought it was interesting that LSU just stopped and decided that they would save money and just electronically send stuff, which I get, but we don't get a lot of communication from that office about transcript procedures. So for viewers at our university or other universities, probably have similar things. They are overloaded during application season, and they get thousands of requests a day because everyone's applying to grad schools and med schools and all kinds of other programs that they're just trying to do things in a streamlined way. And I know I always talk to students about do the transcript first, but then there's always those folks that sit on it and do it last and then are freaking out. But one thing you brought up about each school having its own little, you need this, you need that. I've always thought that schools forget that you're applying to more than one program. And they're like, well, it's very easy for our program. And it's like, well, yeah, on its own, it's fine. But then times 4 or 5 or however many programs you're applying to, and they all start to get mixed up. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that. So I'm hoping with this diecast update that they're trying to do to where it wouldn't just be the traditional DI programs. I think they're trying to get it to where the future graduate programs would also use the same system because that's completely separate still. Hopefully they'll come up with a way to be able to like maybe attach those documents instead of emailing and then physically mailing, having to put a check in the mail and making that more electronic. So hopefully that works out in the future. So we were chatting about this a little bit before we got on for the episode. Callia, did you have to do any interviews or application videos for any of the programs you applied to?
I did. I did an interview and I did an application video. The application video, I did it all in one night. It was because I was worried about the sun and how like the sun would change from our like what we learned in our class. So I did everything like from midnight to 4 a.m. And I liked my video. It was around 14 minutes long. And it was actually for Tulane. And I definitely, it just took a long time. The editing wasn't bad, but it was tedious. But like, I think I didn't use a script or anything at all. It just took lots of different takes. And I think I did each question like on its own. So like I would do 90 seconds here, a minute here, 60 seconds here or whatever. And then like mash everything together. And I would just probably make like 4 takes of each question. I think they had like 12 questions. So it took a long time, but I got it done. But it was funny because I actually saw that if I would have just checked my email earlier, I would have realized I got accepted to their master's program, and I honestly probably wouldn't have done the video for them because I was like, okay, I'm set with that, and I could just, reapply next year. But I mean, I literally did not check my email, and I ended up being up 4 extra hours at night doing this dietetic video. But it was nice, and I actually did see other videos done from other people in the Tulane class who were going to Tulane as well, and I think everyone's videos were really good. I can definitely say you prepped us to make really professional nights videos because other people had different stuff going on, and I was just like, okay, ours looked clean cut. So I was super. It was a good experience. I'm glad we did it first in your class. Although I feel like no one really had like a top-notch video, it was good to at least experience that first, so we know we want to do better when we actually have to do the videos. And then my interview, I did an interview as well, and that wasn't bad at all. It was about 10-15 minutes. I think I had to do a quiz after, actually. But for my interview, they asked me a question. I did not know the answer to it. And I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. It was a clinical question, so it's not my thing anyway. But yeah, so it wasn't bad. It was just you have to be comfortable and just go for it. Just go for it. Like,
was the interview in person or did you have to do it virtually?
it was virtual. It was virtual. It was for the MUSC program. I did the interview. And it was like three different people. They were interviewing me, and they each had a question. And it was actually, their interview was very like just strict, like question. It wasn't like a conversation, which I was kind of prepared for more of a conversation. Like they gave me scenarios of what I would do in like in a clinical rotation and a community rotation, and that was it. And I was like, okay. But it was quick, and I'd rather it be quick than like super long or something.
So how was that experience for you, Shelby?
So I also did both an in-person interview and a interview video. So I did my video kind of how Callia did, just like in one night. But I actually filmed it twice. So it took me 2 times because the first time I did it, like I wasn't happy with it and I wasn't happy with some of my answers to some of the questions. The first time I did it, I actually sat down and I filmed it straight through, like answered all 5 or 6 questions and talked for like 10 or 11 minutes, whatever it was. So that was pretty rough. So the second time I did it like question by question, and that helped me make better answers and make them sound better because I was just like focused on that one question, and then I edited them together, and that was much nicer. But it took me, it took a while. It took like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours that night just to do it. But I'm really glad that we had your class, like Callia said, because that helped like me understand what I needed to do and how to make a professional video. Because I mean, I was just in my bedroom, but I took everything off my wall and like set up some like fruit in the corner of my desk to make it like cheesy. And I bought a ring light because I didn't know what to do like with lighting and everything. But I think I liked the interview like video more than the in-person interview because once I was done with it and emailed it, I was like, there's nothing I can do now. Like it's over with, you know. But the in-person interview that I had, it was 4 people interviewing me. And it was very similar to Callia's, like question after question. It wasn't conversational or anything. So it kind of made me nervous. And then they asked me 2 questions that I just blanked on because I was so nervous. And I gave them a really poor answer. And then after that, I went into the room next door down the hall and did a little quiz. And it was very like, in this scenario, what would you do? Or how would you take care of this patient in this clinical setting? So I definitely think the interview video was a little less nerve-wracking and kind of helped me like form nicer answers because I took the time to think about it, prepare my answers, and then film it. So I liked that a little bit more.
Any other highs or lows about the whole application process up until match day?
I think part of the application process, or can I talk about like getting to know what kind of what programs you want to apply to as well? Because I feel like that goes in with applying. So I think what was really cool with having everything virtual was you can hop on any Zoom for any program anywhere at any time, or they can send you the recording. And I know I probably emailed at least 7 to 10 different directors of programs and just like looking up different things or asking for their videos just to see what's out there. And I definitely will say, schools have reputations, but if you like can get on a Zoom or you like have a conversation or email or anything with a director and like you just didn't really care for them or like the vibe or whatever, That's like a great sign to like, I don't have to go there or whatever. It works out because you definitely want to go somewhere where you're comfortable. And so I think one thing I did was like I met a lot of different directors and just had email conversations or got on Zooms with them. And I treated every program like facing them. I treated all of them like they were my first choice. Just I feel like to keep like a good reputation on that side as well. So I think finding the interview like their open house on Zoom or like the YouTube recording or just sending a quick email to them saying you're interested, like that goes a long way. I got on Zoom with one of them and I had a whole outline to show them and everything and like just to show them I'm very serious. So I don't want to just be my DICAS application or just be my interview or whatnot. I really wanted to have experience with all of the program directors beforehand before I submitted my stuff.
Yeah, I kind of got on multiple Zooms with one program. Like anytime I had a chance to put my face in front of them, I was there, like there to talk to them. So that was helpful because I think that does go a long way. I think they like that and they see that, you're really interested. And when you keep coming back, they're like, oh, hey, it's you again. I'm like, hi, yes, still me. So that was cool, and it was kind of nice with, I guess, COVID. I wish things were in person, but it was nice that I could just pop on a Zoom whenever it was and just be there, instead of like having, like if it was in person, having to figure out the time that you could actually go and everything. So that was kind of nice. And then I was like really stressed out during the application time and everything. So after submitting, it was really nice because I kind of was just like, oh, I'm at peace a little bit. But then getting closer to match day, I was getting more stressed again, just like waiting to find out. So it was definitely like a roller coaster of highs and lows of emotions of being stressed and happy all at the same time.
So that does kind of lead into my next question of that time leading up to match. What was kind of going on in your heads? How were you feeling? Just kind of waiting to hear.
The whole match concept, I was just so anti-match. I knew about it from the beginning, but I still was like, I don't want someone to pick where I go. I still want to like have the choice. I want to choose. And so actually applying to like the grad programs first and getting that out the way was super helpful just because I kind of knew if a program accepted me for their grad program, they probably most likely accepted me for the dietetic internship or for like UNC, it was already included. So I knew I was already in their dietetic internship. So I knew going into match, it was just going to be my second option and I could just, really decide who I really wanted to go to between UNC and who I got matched with. So I honestly did not think about match really leading up to it. I did focus more on like as soon as I submitted DICAS, I went into like scholarship mode and I'm still in scholarship mode. And even for like the schools that I submitted for DICAS, I was still doing their scholarship applications and which was also tedious right after that. So I think I had found out I got the scholarship I think I had received like the master's, accepted to the master's program and got the scholarship before I even got the DICAS decision, before I got my match date. So I was like, okay. DICAS, honestly, the matching did not really like bother me. My parents were super excited and I was just like, okay, but I already had the decision kind of, or I kind of knew what I was leading into. Cause I really tried, I want to say like I finessed the whole matching. I was like, I'm going to pick. So I think that I liked how that worked out. And it really just worked out because the different programs I applied to work differently outside of DICAS. And not all programs use DICAS. I know there's a couple of more. There's definitely a few in like I think Georgia who don't use DICAS as well. I think that's actually an advantage. If you can apply to one of those and get into those, that's just a nice option to sit on and then still do DICAS.
So mine was like the complete opposite because I only applied to schools on DICAS. So I just had to wait for match day. And like the week or so before, I was kind of like trying to be calm and was like, it's fine. Like the decision is whatever happens, it's fine. But then like the day or so before, I was so like excited and really stressed out all at the same time because I was like, well, what if I don't get in and have to do second round? Or, I was just so antsy of like the what ifs. So literally the morning of match day, I drove to my parents' house because I didn't want to just be like by myself, and sat with my mom and to get on match. And then the website wouldn't let me in at first. So I had to like keep refreshing for a few minutes until it actually let me in. So it was lots of emotions. But yeah, I didn't like the idea of match and only applying like matching to one was really stressful. So I kind of like Callia's idea of applying to grad schools and having that option to kind of pick. That's kind of a little nicer because you feel a little more in control. Match was very like out of my control, which really got to my nerves a little bit. So
All right. So when match day came, how did it feel to get matched? Were you conflicted at all when you saw your match? And then how did you approach either accepting your spot or not accepting your spot?
I was still very excited to be matched. I was like, wow, like this is finally like my next step to being a dietitian. Like this is another one checked off the list. I was super excited for that. And I definitely set on my one. I think you had to reply within 24 hours. And I honestly think I replied in 25 hours just because procrastination. But I at that point I knew like, okay, I have 24 hours now to actually make a decision if I'm gonna go to UNC or where I got matched. And it was, I think I knew where I was gonna go. I kind of knew the entire time, but it was just like, okay, now I have to actually like decide. So at this point now we have passed that date. I really only have one option, and that's to go to UNC. I can't go back and say, okay, I want to go somewhere else and take that back. So that was still like, it was still like a big step, regardless if like I'm excited about where I got matched or not. Like I had to still decide. It was my decision day pretty much. It wasn't just really a match day. So at that point I knew like, okay, we're going to focus all my energy into just scholarships and preparing to move.
I was super excited on match day. It was really cool. Well, I got matched to my first choice program too, so that was huge for me. Like I was so excited, but it was really surreal just to think like, oh, in a couple weeks I'm going to take finals and finish undergrad. Like I'll have a bachelor's degree now, and then I'm moving on to the next step. I'm going forward, and I'm so close to actually, becoming a dietitian and getting a real job and all these things. So it was really exciting just to think like how close everything in the future is, and that it kind of felt like things were falling into place. Like I was just super excited. And so I didn't really have any decisions to make like Callia did. I just was like, oh, I matched. And I think I emailed the program within like 15 minutes. And was like, I accept. Thank you. Like, thank you. So I was super excited.
In fact, I think the fact that we were still in school because we're now out, but it was like, okay, great, matched. Let me go do this assignment that's due at midnight as well. But it was still very exciting. And like, I think when we got on Zoom for one of our classes, like people were kind of saying where they were matched, but at the same time they weren't. So I was just like, this is awkward. Do we say it? Do we not say it? I think it would have been way cooler if we were in person and we could like really celebrate in class and everything.
It would have been really fun if we were in person. It kind of would have been stressful too, but like it would have been really fun if we were in person.
It was a Monday as well. It was I think a Monday. So like, yeah, that would have been different, but we would have definitely partied way more than just kind of unmute, mute.
Yeah, because I just was like, oh, cool. Left my parents' house, came back home, and did like a group project.
Right. So it's like, yeah, we match. We're going to be dietitians. We're RD to be dietetic interns, but like, we're still doing assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have to graduate for it to be legitimate and final. But one thing, Callie, with your situation in my short tenure as a DPD director, you're the first student I've had that actually turned down their match.
Really? Okay.
And I learned that when you sit on your match, that DI director will call your DPD director wondering where you are. For those watching at home, I was wondering why that director was blowing up my cell phone. And I was like, okay. And then I got your email, Callie, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe she wants to know what's going on. And I was afraid to call the director back.
Okay,
so for those watching, it worked out for you in the end. I just thought that was interesting because I had never experienced that before. Because when you emailed me and told me, I was like, oh, well, I got your back no matter what. Like, it's your decision, it's your life. But then I kind of forgot that, like, the DI directors were all like, we all have relationships. And I was like, oh, okay, like I better call her back and see what we can do. But I mean, the positive thing, another LSU student got your spot.
Perfect.
I'm happy with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it worked out for us in the end and everyone's happy. But I was like, wow, I've never experienced someone saying no. So that does happen.
Sending that like email was definitely like, I think I sat on it because I was just like, I don't know how to send the email. Plus, like I had developed a great relationship with the program director over there. So I was like, this is really awkward because I like, maybe I'll go here for my PhD. Like I still really like y'all's program and your professors. And I sat on all y'all's Zooms and everything. So I'm like, I was kind of sad in a way, like, wow, I like them. Like I would have really enjoyed them as professors and everything and working with them. So maybe for a PhD program, maybe they'll let me back.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. All right. So what is one thing that each of you did while you were here with as an undergrad that you feel really separated you from other applicants?
I think I was very experience driven. It's not that I did not care like about GPA or my grades. I've always cared about that, but like I really came to LSU and I was like coming after experiences. Like I had just this weird epiphany freshman year that like I need experience in every area of dietetics just to like prepare me for an actual dietetic internship. Because I'm still thinking, pediatric dietitian. That's what I want to do. But I still was like, okay, I need experience in sports, so I did that. And I think I got experience everywhere, not because I liked it, but because I needed to know if I'm going to like it. And, when I did sports nutrition, I was like really into it. I even took like a kinesiology class. I was like, okay, I'll be a sports dietitian one day. This is really cool. But then within like 6 months of that, I was like, okay, I don't like this anymore. So like that lets me know that I don't want to do that. I got the chance, or I still have the chance to like, I've been working with a dietitian at Pennington, a postdoc dietitian. And I've enjoyed my experience. I've learned so much, but I also know that, okay, I don't like that area of research in dietetics. And so having like the ability to like get all this different experience and also build relationships and find mentors has been like super helpful. And it really has helped me know, like just better navigate where I fit in dietetics, although I'm still completely open-minded. I think what sets me really apart from everyone else was like I had lots of different experience, but also in lots of different areas. And I think in a way, I think just my senior year, I'm gonna just say it, but like I really did work full time, and was a full-time student, and it has been so stressful. Literally, like I'd finished my exam last week and came to work, and I'm like, this is terrible. But like I think my work ethic has just really like grown this senior year, and that sets me apart because I could not imagine like really doing that. I really don't know how I survived this at all, but it's really just been, there's lots of benefits. There's more benefits than like cons. So I think my work experience and just like the experiences, whether I got paid or not, I put myself out there a lot in dietetics or in Baton Rouge, whether it was like real nutrition or I took a space and I added nutrition to it. That was probably more what I did than actually being in real nutrition spaces. So.
Wow, that's cool. But I think the only thing that I kind of did that was a little different was my job with the Ag Center. I only say that just because I feel like a lot of people, not everyone, but like some people work in like clinical or they go like work as an intern in sports nutrition. So I kind of had a job with community nutrition. So it was a little different and I was able to get that experience. And even though I'm interested in working in clinical setting right now, like I kind of like some of the community stuff. So I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I'll change my mind as time goes on, or, maybe I'll work in clinical for a little while and then go do community. So that job that I have with the Ag Center allowed me to see a lot of different areas of what all nutrition can be. Like last week we went to Port Allen and kind of like Callie was talking about earlier with the sidewalks, we did the same thing in Port Allen and like figured where sidewalks could go. So it was interesting to see things that dietitians can do in the community that's not very typical. And that job helped me kind of learn how to work a normal like office job and how to be a little more professional and, talk to adults and coworkers and send professional emails and kind of be that person. So that helped me a lot with just life and kind of helped me mature and figure out how to like work and do school and all those kind of things. So that job helped me a lot. Other than that, there wasn't anything atypical that I did.
I can say I found more things that I don't like than I do like in dietetics. Not that I like, I mean, you can do anything pretty much, but at the same time, like I found a lot of areas that I'm like, okay, this is not really fitting for me, but I also know like I still have to do this during my dietetic internships. I have to find at least 14 weeks of my life to go enjoy this. And I think even like up until like January, I was still looking for experience like in WIC or something. Like I just wanted experience.
I know that's the number one thing I tell new students that come in or potential students that may be joining us in the fall. What can I be doing? And it's like, figure out what you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And that will take time and you'll actually gain experience at the same time. But I would rather have students know exactly what they don't want to do so they don't waste time or go to an internship that's going to heavily train them in something they absolutely hate. Because the last thing we want is for you to finish your internship and you're like, I don't even think I want to be a dietitian anymore because of what I had to go through. So that's really good advice for those watching. Figure out what you don't want to do. So was there anything throughout your time here in the dietetics program as an undergrad that you wish you had done better? I mean, hindsight's a little different. You're matched, you're ready to move on, you're about to graduate, but is there anything you wish you had done better?
I mean, hindsight, like we're done at this point, but I think I want to say like, I wish I would have like been more involved earlier still. I could have been just more involved in like the community and even like LSU, like outside of nutrition, just like LSU activities and like different clubs and stuff like that. I wish I kind of would have got involved earlier. I think honestly, I don't have any regrets on, oh, no, I know exactly what I want to say. I wish I would have paid more attention to how I schedule classes. I know my sophomore year, I took 4 science classes, and that's impossible, and no one should ever do that. And I was volunteering with sports nutrition. I was working for LSU Ag as well, but that was impossible just to maintain all that science. And I've never been like a science person anyway. So I think everyone should take anatomy in the summer or by itself or with your easiest course. I kind of wish I just would have known more about like what I can handle for a class load. I think that was like a big moment for me in like becoming like an adult in college compared to like a kid. Knowing like how you schedule your class is probably more important than like when you're taking it or like how well you do. It depends on how you schedule it, what you're taking it with, who's the professor. And it's not just go and rate my professor and find the easiest person. It's really like looking at the workload of them and like what's actually on your schedule. So that's what I would have done differently. That's one thing I really learned, that's super important. Your scheduling and match. There's a science, there's like a math, there's like, it's a game. All of it's kind of like a game. I feel like you can definitely do it right. You can be a great student, but if you don't apply to the right program or you don't schedule your classes right, you're not going to do as well as you want. So that's what I learned.
I remember that semester that you took all those classes and you were standing in my doorway and you're like, I made a mistake. And we sat down and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, we definitely should. Like, I didn't even realize that we had put that kind of advising plan together. And you were just like, I made a mistake. How do we fix this mistake? And we fixed it. And it worked out.
Right. It worked out. But like, and I was definitely worried about that when applying to like grad programs and DICAS as well. Like, I did take some W's. I did do really bad in some classes. And I remember going to Miss Ball's room. Like, I don't know if she had a class, it was office hours or what, but I just knocked on her door, like crying. Like, I need to drop 2 classes. There's no way I can go take this organic chem test in the next 2 hours. Like, I need to drop it. So like looking back, it's funny, but it was definitely stressful just because like I had scheduled completely wrong. It wasn't that I couldn't handle like the course material. It's just like I couldn't do it all at once. So that was tough.
I wish I would have gotten more involved early because it didn't really hit me until about junior year, like kind of before taking 30/25, but more while taking your class, that I was like, oh man, I have a lot of work to do. I need to beef things up. So I wish I would have gotten much more involved early on. Like starting college, I knew I needed to get involved and do kind of better than what I did in high school, but I didn't really actually like think about it that much. I just kind of kept putting it on the back burner and was like, oh, it'll work out one day. It'll just work out. But junior year, it hit me and I was like, I have to do some stuff. Like things have to get into motion. I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Like this has to happen. So I wish I would have done that sooner. So I would have had much more experiences and just knowledge in general. And then also, I wish I would have studied better like freshman, sophomore year. I definitely worked hard, but I didn't really learn how I liked to study until about junior year when everything hit me and I was like, I need to do really well. So I wish I would have actually paid attention earlier and just focused on everything earlier because I feel like that would have set me up a little bit different than where I am now. Luckily, like I worked hard in the last 2 years and things have really progressed for me, but if I would have started all that earlier, I wonder what else could have happened during those 4 years and what else I could have learned. So don't be afraid to branch out, I guess, because I was just kind of like, it's fine.
All right. So what are some of your personal best tips or tricks or warnings to dietetic students currently, future dietetic students, future DI applicants? What kind of messages would you like to say to them?
I would say meet everybody you can, like meet the professors, meet the community members, meet the students, meet everyone because I'm gonna say this now that I've like finished everything. I'm waiting for my like your graduating email. It should be coming soon. But like I feel like it really is who you know and not really what you know. And then I'm gonna put in what you do because people like to see what you've done in the past, like what you've completed. But then like reference letters must come first, I feel like, because I hated to like it's awkward to like ask someone for an email or ask someone for like a reference letter or something like that, but like it is their job. And I actually was on a call for UNC and they were like, to prepare you for like coming to this program, like get comfortable with like just asking people for stuff. Like that's what they're here for. Like that's their job. And I don't think I've ever had anyone say no, but like I would ask for reference letters first because you don't want to miss a deadline because someone else couldn't get something done, or like you kind of put someone like a time constraint where like they couldn't get it done or anything. So I would say get reference letters done first. And then for deadlines, whether it's like a scholarship, DICUS, SOFIS, whatever, put the in your mind, like write down like that the deadline is 48 hours before it actually is due. Because then like you're thinking, okay, May 1st, but it's actually May 3rd. So when something like happens or whatever, you do know, oh, you do have some wiggle room. But like just getting things in early, getting reference messages or like emails done early, is super important. That goes with definitely like making sure you meet people and have good relationships because people are always willing to help. So I think I really enjoyed meeting people. I was definitely like not a very talkative person entering LSU, but like here I just really learned that all you have to do is like talk to people and let people know like who you are and like not just sit in the front of your classes, but like I feel like I talked a lot in all of our classes, but it worked out because I just have good relationships with pretty much all my professors and anyone who's ever helped me. They're always just a call or email away. So that always works out way better than kind of just relying on like an application as who you are. And then also my biggest thing for DICUS was like treat every program like they're your first choice. Like don't let them know. I think you might have told me that, Dr. McKinley. Like don't let them know that like, oh well, I'm gonna apply here, but I already kind of looking at this school first. Like treat them all like they're your first choice. And so that's why it was awkward to send Tulane the email like, oh wait, I actually don't want to go here. Because I had such a good relationship with them as well. And I facing them, it was like, oh, she wants this really, really bad. So because I mean it is how it is. This is how matching works. And there's new applicants next year, they move on. So those are I think my tips have to be are more with like how you present yourself is kind of almost more important, or for me it was more important than like what I actually wrote on my applications. Because I mean I honestly started the UNC application 10 days before it was due. And I only knew that application was even open because I emailed them because the website said it wasn't open. So like I could have missed an entire opportunity just because I read a website and was like, oh, can't do that. But no, I emailed them. I took the time to like meet them. I've talked to the director since then. So it's all about like emailing. In fact, I like missed a whole job opportunity at LSU because I did not answer an email soon enough, like my sophomore year. And at that point, I was like, my email is my like number one form of communication, and that's something I think that takes you from like a college student to like a college adult. Like you have to check your email. Everything's on your email. So it's like more personal things than like educational, academic things.
One thing I would say to anybody watching this who isn't from our program is that your DPD director should be understanding of last minute things. I remember Callia sending me that email and she's like, this is due in 10 days. I'm sorry. But I was like, no, this is a really great school. It's not your fault that the website was confusing. So don't be, for those watching, don't be afraid to bug your director. Like it literally is our jobs to make sure that you find the best program for you and you have everything you need. And I feel like over the years, students are hesitant to ask people for things because they think that you're bugging us. You're not. It's like for us to say no, I wouldn't be able to like live with myself. But I was like, no, I need 12 days to do. No, y'all know I need 5 minutes. Once I write a letter for you, I can easily edit those. We're all the same. We have everything. We keep record of everything. It's not hard for us to write you quick letters and do things like that. But it's more not being afraid about asking. All right, Shelby, what are some of your tips, tricks, or warnings?
Kind of similar stuff to bounce off what you both said. Don't be afraid to take advantage of all your resources and opportunities. I mean, compared to like some of the other majors like engineering or something, our major is much smaller. So get to know everyone, get to know all your students, like co-workers, co-student people, you know, but also know your professors, talk to your DPD director. Like, don't be afraid to reach out and use them as resources, because in the end, it's going to be really helpful and you don't know what kind of opportunities you could get from them. Like one time I went to my professor's office hours and I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing in nutrition, like help. And she was like, oh, there's a job opening, like you should apply. So, you know, things can kind of work out. So if you just are not afraid to talk to your professors and your DPD director, it can help you so much in the long run. And also don't be afraid to reach out to people in the community. Like if you know any RDs or like nutrition professionals in your community, reach out to them, because 9 times out of 10, they are so excited that you're coming into this profession and they just want to help you. So, you know, and then stay on top of things, kind of like how Callia said, submit things early. Like with diecast, I wrote, you know, the actual due date in my planner, and then I wrote my own personal due date a couple weeks in advance, just so I could stay on top of it. And, you know, don't be afraid to write multiple to-do lists of all the things that you have to do for every single program, and, you know, diecast and this program and that program. Just stay on top of all your things. But definitely my big thing would be to reach out to as many people as you can and network and make connections, because everyone is so linked. And I feel like so many people within nutrition dietetics know each other. So the more connections you make and the more people that you come encounter with, they can help you so much in the long run and help you learn a lot too. So that's a really big thing. It's just networking and taking advantage of all those opportunities to meet new people.
Yeah, I've literally like one of my closest, like she's almost like a big sister now, but like she's a nutritionist in the community, and I literally had DM'd her from Instagram like 2 years ago, and now she's just been like the biggest help, and like she's taught me everything I know. Well, not everything I know obviously, but like a lot of community nutrition. I've seen her work. I'm like, I really want to be just like you. And it literally started off from like an Instagram DM. And now like she's done recommendation letters for me. She's taken me like to different conferences that she puts on. She's been like just amazing. And like there's always people out there who want to like see you win. They obviously want to see you like make less mistakes than they did. So like I think just reaching out to people, you have to like get really comfortable with it, because it's not easy. But like networking is something I think you have to be comfortable with, like with yourself to do it. But I also learned something. It's like when you're asking for funding or like money, people will give you like, they'll start giving you like places with experience, or like they'll just give you more like resources. But then when you ask for like resources or like just information, people will lead you to funding. So it's always just like how you go about things, how you ask things, and like your relationship with people is super important. So it's something I really take from like just college in general.
Yeah, definitely reach out, because like I shadowed a dietitian, and she texted me a couple months ago and was like, "Hey, we have a clinical RD position open. Like, you should apply." And I was like, "I haven't even done my internship yet." And she was like, "Oh, wait, like I forgot. Like I forgot you're not in your internship. Like you never know who you might meet." And then like I met another dietitian, and she wrote a recommendation letter for me, and lo and behold, she's a preceptor for that program. So like, and I didn't even know that. Like, so be nice to everyone you meet, because you don't know where they might play a role in your life later on.
Yeah, right. Like the first dietitian I ever met in fifth grade, she literally wrote one of my recommendation letters for another program I applied to. And it's just like that was fifth grade. Now I'm like graduating college, and like you're still like someone like really meaningful like in my network and everything. And like my biggest goal is like these people have helped me, so like I want to help them. I have the opportunity to help them just find different places like they can like thrive or shine and everything.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about how we want you to make less mistakes than we did. So I guess this is a forewarning for students in this program and maybe other programs, depending on the director. But a lot of students wonder why I like to bring up mistakes, negative things, point out negative things in every situation, or tell horror stories that I've heard or that personally happened to me or folks that were in my internship, because sometimes the more important lesson is in the mistake than in always focusing on the positive. We can't always live in everything is perfect. And so that's maybe a forewarning for some students that we do focus quite a bit on, okay, don't do this, or this happened, that's not how you do it, just so you can see that.
Right.
Not every director is like that, but I feel like you're going to learn more if I say, see what happened with this person, don't ever do that.
Right. And I see that like a lot into just different like job experiences or like different volunteer experiences I've had. It's so much cooler and easier to learn from a mistake when it's not your mistake, but you're around. So like you know what to not do now, but like it's still not like you're really your fault that what's going on is happening. But like I just have learned a lot from seeing other people's mistakes and even how to fix their mistakes as like an intern or something. So that's been really helpful, and just taking notes of like, oh yeah, so someone will say like, oh yeah, we messed up. Well, I was part of the process. It's really not my fault, but like now I know not to do that too. So like it's cool to like be entry level because it's like never really your fault.
Yeah. Also, I thought of something talking about like mistakes. Don't or try not to compare yourself too much to other people in your program, because it can get really intimidating when like so and so is doing this and they're working over here and they're volunteering with this dietitian, and then you're like, what am I doing? So even if you're working and you're doing your best, try not to compare yourself too much to what other people are doing, because that can make everything seem way more stressful than it really is, because you're probably doing great. So there's that as well.
All right. So are there any rumors that you heard throughout the program, throughout your time as a dietetic student, that you can either confirm or dispel now that you're finishing a dietetics program and moving on to an internship? Is there any like things that are now myths that are myths, or crazy rumors you heard that you're like, yeah, that actually is true, or that's definitely not true?
Well, I think I've heard, I think everyone's kind of like prepared us for this, but like, you kind of never know what to expect in the dietetic internship. Um, like, things kind of just come at you, and like you have to be ready to like change. And I know for like the UNC Chapel Hill dietetic internship, for one summer or for both summers, I'll have to like move every 6 weeks or so to different parts of North Carolina. I'm like, that's not something like I think I'm like super happy about, but it's like it's part of the process. So like for the internships in general, where I mean, regardless of where you are, like you always have to be like ready to, I guess, move sites or go somewhere else. And just, I think I learned that from a YouTube video as well. Like you might be there for a rotation for 2 weeks, and like you have like 24 hours to really like learn, because like you're only here for 2 weeks, so you need to be prepared. And then like the next 2 weeks you're going somewhere else, so like it's really like get in, settle, and like start working as soon as possible. So I've heard that. I think now that I'm seeing like more and learning more about the North Carolina program, it's really like a fast paced, lots of moving, and you kind of just go through it. And then I think a myth about the LSU program is that it's hard, and I'm gonna say it's really not hard. I think we have like, compared to other like LSU majors in schools, we have really good relationship with our professors. I can say like I have had friends who like dread talking to like their teachers, or don't know like how to like, you know, communicate with them and stuff like that. And I think our program, it's not easy. It's not like an easy program, but it's like we have it a very comforting, nurturing program. So, and I've heard people say LSU Dietetics is hard. I'm like, it's not hard.
It's challenging. It's challenging, and it's only as hard as you make it on yourself.
Right. Definitely challenging, but I think what I can't say it's hard is because like it's very comforting. It's very like it's a home. So knowing all your professors, it's really, really nice. I think we knew all of our professors by like sophomore year, so it's perfect.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. The program and certain classes were definitely challenging, and other classes were more challenging than others. But I was able to learn so much more than I thought I would, which sounds kind of weird, but I learned so much. And getting to know all the professors really helped because, you know, you had the same professor for multiple different classes. So that was really nice because it was like very close knit, and it was really comforting just to kind of find like my own little place within LSU. So the program, it was definitely, you know, like I guess a myth to debunk is like, oh, this class is impossible. Like you're never going to pass it. You're going to have to retake it, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. And that goes for any college class. I mean, if you put the effort towards it, you can pass it on the first go round and not have to retake it or, you know, what have you. So definitely that. And then I think something kind of similar to Callie said that I've learned is that you have to be flexible. Like, especially, I mean, this past year with COVID, like classes went online. I wasn't ready for that. I don't think anyone was, but, you know, so you have to learn to be flexible. And I think I've kind of loosened up a little bit because I'm very type A. So I think I've been able to kind of become more flexible this year, which I think will help with an internship because you never know what can happen during your internship and what kind of preceptors you might have. And you're going to be moving from this rotation to that rotation. And, you know, they're going to throw you into so many different scenarios. So you just have to learn to go with it and soak it all up, you know? So.
All right. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to mention as we close out this episode?
This LSU program would not be what it is without Dr. McKinley.
Agreed. Dr. McKinley.
Seamless self-promotion.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I would not know half the things I know if it wasn't for you guiding us along the way because you helped so much.
All right. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing this episode with me. But good luck to both of you. Keep in touch. I know you will represent LSU so well. Have fun in my old stopping grounds, North Carolina, my old home. And thank you so much. Congratulations on everything.